I wrote a talk. It's in my purse. I had a backup plan. It's in my purse. I wasn't feeling it, guys. So I channeled Maggie. Oh, we have 3 actual subjects for this month, and everybody's been talking about the feminine principle, and I'm going to too, but just a little bit, because I also want to talk about the 2 other subjects. I'm going to just steal everything Bob did a couple of weeks ago. Bob talked about a kind of a travel log about going to England, and his little travel log story, and he talked about his son Benjamin. So I'm going to do a travel log, and I'm going to talk about Ricky, and we'll see where this goes, and I'm just going to tell stories. Okay?
Perfect.
Sounds good. Is that good? Small family group today. It's different every week. If you don't like today, just come back. I only speak like, 6-7 times a year, so it's okay. So, let's start with the travel log. We recently came back from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We did a trip to Albuquerque for a show. For those of you who don't know, that beautiful drum that Rick played in meditation is what we do for a living. We make these things and we travel all over the country and sell them. So we're gone a lot. And we went to Albuquerque, and as usual, we take a couple of days at the tail end of our trip, sometimes a few on the way, and we either visit family and friends or we do a little vacation kind of stuff. Well, we are big fans of ancient Indian sites, and we resonate to them. And so we have a list. I have a whole book of Indian ruins all over the Southwest, and I'm crossing off so that we get to every single one of them. So we had one we really wanted to visit, and it was just outside of Albuquerque. About 40 miles this side of Albuquerque, there's a casino called Sky City. Now, we stop in there not to gamble, guys, but we stop in because it's a good place when we're dragging our trailer and we can park in their parking lot overnight and sleep. So we park in the parking lot at Sky City quite a bit. And we decided that, I kept reading that there was actually this really cool pueblo. I'd seen signs for it, but it said it was like 15 miles, and we've never known. We're always either in the motorhome pulling the Jeep or now in the truck pulling the trailer. And, you don't want to get stuck on some dirt road and you can't turn around, and we didn't know the situation. So we decided we were going to find out. And I stopped in and I talked to the people at the casino and got some information, and we made a plan. And after we finished our show in Albuquerque, we came back up there, and they have a little RV park actually at the casino. So we stayed in the RV park and we were able to hook up. And the next morning we went on this adventure. And we drive our 15 miles, and before you get all the way there, there's this incredible overlook. And there are areas of New Mexico that we often drive through in Arizona and New Mexico that just look like bleak, kind of nasty desert that aren't very interesting. But I've got to tell you, when you get off the roads, it changes tremendously. So we drive this 15 miles and we get to this overlook that opens to this incredible valley with these huge rock monoliths, and it's just magnificently beautiful. And if you look real closely out in the distance, at the top of one of these huge mesas are houses. Ancient, ancient houses. So we're already signed up. We're taking a tour. We show up. We get our assigned time. They have a beautiful little museum. And we wander around, and these are pottery-making natives. And Rick, actually, you didn't wear it today. He bought a beautiful necklace made from a pottery shard. It was just incredible. But we go up on this tour. Now, this mesa is filled with this pueblo. These people left Chaco Canyon in 1150 and started looking for their new place to live. The people that were in Chaco Canyon have spread all over, and natives all over the Southwest started in Chaco Canyon or used Chaco Canyon as ceremonial ground. We still don't know. But these were people that their stories are that they came out of Chaco Canyon, and it was time to leave there and find a new place. And they called where they live Ha'aku. We call it Acoma. but they called it Ha'aku, which was the place prepared. And they were told to wander, and they would call out. And when Ha'aku came back, when they heard that echo back, that was their home. And they got in this valley, and they heard this echo, and they knew that they were home. Anybody had that feeling when you've gone somewhere, and you knew that you were home? We celebrated 6 years that we've been here just this last week. And we're home. So, one of the really interesting things as we got on this tour is our little tour guide, very cute young girl, was telling us that this is a matriarchal society. See, I can tie this in very easily. We're talking about the feminine principle. It's a total matriarchal society. The women own the homes. The women pass down the homes to the youngest daughter. Is this complete opposite of what we think of in our culture? They pass down the homes to the youngest daughter because it is presumed that the youngest daughter will live the longest and be able to take care of the family. Kind of interesting. What's going on in our lives that we need to think of things differently and maybe shift and do something the opposite? When I heard this story, that's the first thing I thought of is, what is going on that isn't working, that needs to shift? There's other ways of doing things. We don't have to be stuck. Has anybody ever said, I'm stuck? I have. Is that the truth? No. It's not the truth at all. And the shift doesn't come from anything outside of us. The shift comes from inside. It's our perspective. It's the way we choose to look at things. Betty, the thought for the day, I release my judgments.
I release all judgments and look through the eyes of truth.
I release all judgments and look through the eyes of truth. If we can let go of our judgments and attachments to things being any particular way, then we do see through the eyes of truth. Which leads me into Ricky. Story number 2. I got to get this one over quickly, but so many of you know Ricky. Raise your hands if you know Ricky. Okay, see, the family knows Ricky. Ricky is our 18-year-old, my 18-year-old stepson, Rick's son. And Ricky moved out of the area in September doing his 18-year-old, I've got to go somewhere and do something. We saw Ricky on Thursday. We went to a graduation for a friend of ours down in the desert, did a quick trip down to Palm Springs and back. And Ricky came out for the graduation and we got to see him. And I've got to tell you guys, he is doing phenomenally well. I have never seen Ricky so confident, so mature. He's really had to grow up. He lives at his mother's house, but I don't think he has a lot of discussion or contact with her. So he's pretty much in her house, but living pretty much on his own. And he has grown up. He has been working with a recruiter. He is going to go into the Air Force. He has done an amazing job passing every single test that he has tried to take. He's eligible for any job he wants. He's just doing great, and he's excited. So Ricky's doing great. So, see, I have good stories about my son, too. They're not as good as his, but, you know, this is good. He was wearing an Air Force t-shirt, and he had his hair cut real short. I mean, he's moving into it, so it's kind of fun to watch. So the Ricky story's over. Sorry, I had to throw that one in. No spiritual connection to that, just you guys wanted to know about Ricky. So let's talk about the second subject for the month, which is subjective mind. Now, how many of you understand what subjective mind is? 2. Okay. I knew that. What this concept is in the Science of Mind text, subjective mind is the whole concept of what we teach. That spirit, that intelligence, that God, that this energy that is all creative in the universe is subject to our beliefs. So it is a subjective mind. It is subject to what you believe, to what you feel, to what you think, to what you say, to what's deep down inside of you. So if you're trying to shift something in your life, if you'd like something to go differently, if there's a stone in your path that you're trying to step over, there might be some things that you need to look at. Our third subject is spiritual mind treatment, and that is our form of prayer that we use, that's an affirmative form of prayer. But I think there's steps we have to go through before we even get there. Because if we start doing spiritual mind treatment, and we go into affirmative prayer, but we haven't done any pre-work, we're still in the same place. This intelligence is subject to everything. It's subject to your past because you believe your past. It's subject to the future that you believe is out there. But the truth is, where is everything? In this moment. Right here, right now. So some of the work you might need to do. Some of the work you might need to do is really take a good hard look at what your beliefs are and where they came from. And then throw them away. Throw them away? All of them? Well, at least the ones that aren't working. You know, we've all grown up with people telling us things that aren't necessarily true about ourselves. You're not good enough. You're not tall enough. You weigh too much. You're not this, you're not that. That's not the truth. But you know, when we're little tiny kids, we take that stuff on because we believe those people. And here we are, full-grown adults, 50, 60, 70 years old, and we're still believing this stuff. It's still underlying. Maybe there's history as you went through your life, and you attempted things and you weren't as good at it, so you begin to think you're not good at stuff. I think I plunked around on my dad's piano and made a whole lot of racket and bothered him a lot, so he pushed me off the piano bench. So I thought I couldn't play music. Now I still can't really play music, but I have fun, don't I, Rick? Yeah, he nods. He thinks I have fun. I can make sound out of instruments, and I enjoy it. But I didn't know that. You know, some of you guys who were around a few years ago saw me play bass guitar. That was a joke. I mean, I sat and told Rick if I were to play an instrument, I'd want to play bass, and he bought me one. And, you know, I could play D, G, and C. And Joe Seppi would come in and go, it's just a neat little blues riff. It's just do dum dum dum. And I go, no, Joe. I play D, 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 G, 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 C, C, C. That's all there is. But I could do that. And I didn't think I could even do that. When we release our judgments and our preconceived ideas, the world opens up to us. Jenny just told me a story, so I'm going to share that one because it's really fun. Jenny got pulled over by a cop on the way to church. And she was on her cell phone.
You didn't see me.
He didn't see the cell phone. So he pulls her over and she brightly says, "What can I do for you today?" Dear. And he asked her if he knew how fast she was going, and she basically just talked nicely to him, talked sweetly to him, and talked her way out of a ticket.